Call 855-581-6858 today. Spectrum Business, made to work.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
I'm Jenna Enoch. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. A surge in donations for the Harris campaign during the Democratic National Convention. The Harris campaign said it has raised more than $540 million since Joe Biden dropped out of the race and had its best hour of fundraising following Harris's DNC speech. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's team reported it raised $327 million in cash at the start of the month. Tensions continue to rise in the Middle East following heavy fire exchange between Israel and Hezbollah on Sunday. Hezbollah claims it hit an Israeli military intelligence site. Israel claims its strike was preemptive to avert a larger attack. U.S. officials say discussions to try to finalize an Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal will continue over the coming days. Hurricane Hone is now making its way past the big island of Hawaii. Some parts of the island received 10 to 15 inches of rain, with some locals reporting seeing up to 18 inches or more. With Hone heading toward the rear view, 2 more storms are making its way near the islands. Hurricane Gilma is expected to hit Hawaii later this week, with a Category 3 storm expected to lose strength as it approaches the island. 2 named storms have not come within 300 miles of the main Hawaiian island in a week's span since 1992. Those are your headlines. Now here's your weather on the ones.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend, and I certainly hope you all enjoyed the nice weather while it is here. We're heating up big time across the Midwest into the East Coast later this week. 95 in Chicago later today, 97 in Memphis, 98 through Kansas City later this afternoon. And the heat's really going to start to shift more towards the east as we get going into the middle of this week. In the meantime, though, across the Pacific Basin, we have 3 named storms, and some of which are going to bring some more impacts to the state of Hawaii. I'll have more details on that coming up in 10 minutes.
The presidential campaigns of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump hitting the trail this week, with the election quickly approaching. Thank you for joining us on Spectrum News. I'm Jenna Enoch. Vice President Kamala Harris is preparing for her first debate with former President Donald Trump, which is supposed to take place Tuesday, September 10th. Harris and her running mate, Tim Walz, will look to build off that momentum gained from last week's Democratic National Convention. Meanwhile, Trump will be visiting battleground states, promoting his foreign policy record. Both campaigns have also reported fundraising numbers, with the Harris campaign raising more than $540 million since launching her campaign, and Trump raising $327 million in cash. Spectrum's Angie Gonzalez is in our nation's capital and has the latest on the campaign front for both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
This afternoon, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump will be in the swing state of Michigan for one of 2 stops he'll be making there this week. During his address today before members of the National Guard, he's expected to continue pushing the connection between his Democratic challenger, Kamala Harris, and the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan 3 years ago this week.
No one will ever forget the horrifying images of their catastrophic retreat from Afghanistan.
Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, will also be in Michigan tomorrow, and the former president will be back in the state Thursday. The same day, Trump will also visit Wisconsin, and Friday will be in Pennsylvania. Their focus during these stops will be the economy and inflation. Trump's allies also making their case on those issues over the weekend.
The reason we have 20% inflation under a Biden-Harris administration right now is because of all of the attacks on energy, for example.
Meanwhile, the vice president's campaign says she and running mate Governor Tim Walz have raised $540 million in the last month and saw a surge of contributions during last week's Democratic National Convention.
This is about a party now that wants to heal, bring people together, and move all of America forward.
On Wednesday, Harris and Walz will kick off a bus tour in Georgia to campaign together for the first time in the state. Thursday, the vice president will hold a solo rally there where she's expected to highlight Project 2025. Democrats have linked the former president to the conservative playbook for a second Trump term because of how many former Trump administration officials were involved in putting it together. Trump has repeatedly claimed he knows nothing about Project 2025.
Angie joins us now. Another issue the Democrats have attacked Trump on is reproductive rights. So over the weekend, his running mate was asked about this. So Angie, what did he say?
Well, Senator J.D. Vance was asked about where the former president stands on a nationwide abortion ban. Democrats, including Vice President Kamala Harris, saying in their speeches at the DNC that Trump supports a nationwide abortion ban. Here's what Senator Vance said about that on Meet the Press.
Can you commit, Senator, sitting right here with me today, that if you and Donald Trump are elected, that you will not impose a federal ban on abortion?
I can absolutely commit that, Kristen, and Donald Trump has been as clear about that as possible.
Now, Jenna, what Vance says Trump has made clear is that he believes the issue should be in the hands of each state, and that means no federal involvement on this issue. Jenna?
Angie, thanks. Tensions remain high in the Middle East as Israel and Hezbollah trade heavy fire Sunday. Both sides say the attacks are over. It was the heaviest exchange between the two in months. And it all comes as critical ceasefire talks in the Israel-Hamas war ended yesterday with a resolution. Spectrum's Phil Boudreau has the latest.
Sunday, the Middle East witnessed a major exchange of rockets between Israel and not Hamas, but Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is one of the most powerful and well-armed groups backed by Iran, all as the U.S. tries to prevent the Israel-Hamas war from widening.
So last night was worrisome. It's perhaps the biggest exchange we've had since the start of this conflict.
Since late July, Israel has been bracing for retaliation after the nation claimed responsibility for the assassination of Hezbollah's most senior military official, Fouad Shukr, in Lebanon's capital. Hezbollah said its launch of more than 300 rockets was completed, quote, meticulously.
We will assess the outcome of the enemy's concealment of today's events. If the result is satisfactory and it achieves the intended goal, we will consider the response process to the assassination of Fouad Shukr complete.
Hezbollah also denied claims by Israel that Israel Defense Forces thwarted Hezbollah's strike by striking first Sunday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the military destroyed thousands of short-range rockets.
This morning, we detected Hezbollah's preparation to attack Israel. Together with the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Staff, we instructed the IDF to act proactively to remove the threat.
A U.S. defense official said that the U.S. helped Israel track incoming attacks. Hezbollah said this phase of the fighting is over, with Netanyahu saying this is not the end. I'm Philip Boudreau reporting.
Two storms taking aim at Hawaii. Meteorologist Ramel Carpenter is tracking both and joins us now. Good morning, Ramel.
Hey, good morning, Jenna. That's right. We actually have 3 storms in the Pacific Basin, but 2 of those are going to continue to bring some impacts to the state of Hawaii, including Hone, which brought several inches of rainfall across the Big Island. Reports of over a foot of rain fell, along with some power outages due to those strong winds. Along with Hurricane Gilma and Tropical Storm Hector, which is right behind Gilma, and it's going to continue to work its way towards the west. So as for the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center, we're now looking at Tropical Storm Hone, which is going to continue to push towards the west and weaken significantly as it moves past the islands of Hawaii. But again, those hurricane warnings have been dropped across the Big Island. Definitely a good sign, but we do have another storm system that is going to be pushing into the state. But Hurricane Gilma going to be much weaker by the time it approaches the islands of Hawaii. Going to be a tropical depression, going to bring some rough surf and maybe a few showers and thunderstorms across the region, but no significant impacts are expected with Gilma later in the week.
Ramel, thanks. Coming up on Political Buzz, both campaigns trade barbs over their stances on abortion rights as they hone in on the battleground states. We'll break it all down for you.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know that internet is a vital tool to help you fulfill your dreams.
My dream is to become a video game developer.
My dream is to get my online college degree. That's why Spectrum has affordable solutions to keep you connected. At Spectrum, we are committed to delivering reliable, affordable internet and unlimited mobile to keep you connected to what matters most to you.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter, tracking the tropics, and we have nothing to talk about across the Atlantic Basin. Final week of August. For that matter, we're not expecting any additional activity for at least the next 7 days. We still have the peak of hurricane season to get through. September is typically pretty busy, so if you live along the Gulf Coast or the Southeast Coast for that matter as well, make sure you are staying weather aware and paying attention to the tropics because things could change very quickly. Across the Pacific Basin, though, we do have a couple of named storms, not 1, not 2, but 3 of them, 2 tropical storms, 1 hurricane, which is going to continue to work its way towards the islands of Hawaii. That is Hurricane Gilma. We've got Tropical Storm Hector right behind it, and we've got Tropical Storm Hone now, which was a hurricane over the weekend, and it brought several inches of rainfall across the Big Island where we had some hurricane warnings in effect, which have now been dropped. Now at tropical storm status, going to continue to work its way to the west around 14 miles per hour, going to move away from those islands, and we should see conditions starting to improve the next couple of days. That is until Hurricane Gilma starts to approach the islands. It is going to continue to weaken as well as it progresses to the west around 9 miles per hour. Going to eventually become a tropical depression as it nears Hawaii. Going to be seeing some more showers and thunderstorms pretty widely scattered across the islands, some gusty winds as well and some rough surf, but not expecting the impacts that we had over the weekend with Hone as we are with Gilma. Back here in the lower 48, though, we do have some quiet weather and some hot weather for that matter to look forward to across the Midwest. Active storm track is going to be across the Great Lakes region the next couple of days where we do have a good chance for some showers and thunderstorms to develop. But we are certainly going to be building in that heat after a nice taste of fall last week. Dangerous heat in store for us across the Midwest today with several heat alerts in place. Going to see those heat alerts start to spread towards the East Coast, but we do have a risk for some strong to severe thunderstorms, tornadoes on the cards across the Midwest as well. And I'm going to be breaking down all those details and more coming up in 10 minutes on your Weather on the Ones.
If you're just joining us or you're heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. The Harris campaign said it raised $82 million during last week's Democratic National Convention. Meantime, the campaign reported $204 million to the Federal Election Commission in July. That was nearly 4 times President Trump's $48 million for the same period. Hurricane Hone is now making its way past the Big Island of Hawaii. Hurricane Gilma is expected to hit Hawaii later this week, with a Category 3 storm expected to lose strength as it approaches the island. The Israeli military says more than 1 million polio vaccines have been delivered to Gaza after the first confirmed case in the territory in 25 years. Aid groups plan to vaccinate more than 600,000 children and have called for an urgent pause in the war. And that's what you need to know this morning. Abortion continues to be a top issue for Republicans and Democrats in 2024. Former President Donald Trump's position on policy has changed over the years. Well, for this morning's political buzz, let's bring in Spectrum's Jason Fechner. Jason, good morning. The former president celebrated when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, bringing the issue to the state. So talk about Trump's shift, as his running mate says Trump would veto a national ban.
Jenna, good morning. Republicans try to work to find their footing on this right now. And let's rewind just to the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee. Republicans had left abortion off their platform essentially for the first time in decades without a strict anti-abortion stance out there for the public. And there were delegates here in Milwaukee that were upset about that, publicly putting that out there that they wanted it on the platform. They weren't sure why Republicans weren't addressing it. Democrats, of course, saying that Trump would absolutely support a national abortion ban if he were elected into a second term now, and Vance pushing back on that. So Republicans working to try to find their footing right now. The Washington Post had reported back in 2015, in the run-up to the 2016 election, that Trump had taken 5 different stances on abortion in a matter of days then. And so they're working to say that Roe has been overturned. It's now a states' rights issue. That's where they want to leave it. Democrats are saying that that's not true, and an anti-abortion ban would be put into place if he were reelected this coming November.
Jason, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren pushing back on Vance's suggestion of a Trump veto, saying, quote, "American women are not stupid," end quote. Tell me about this.
Well, clearly this abortion ban, or the threat of it, is going to be a big play for Democrats, of course. It's 71 days now to Election Day. So tomorrow, Tuesday, marks 10 weeks to the election, and we're going to hear a lot about this potential abortion ban across the country. Warren going further with her comments there, saying that not only do Democrats need to elect Harris this coming fall, they also need to get a Democratic Congress in place. They need to get legislation on the floor. They need Harris to sign it, which of course she would, to codify the abortion protections that had been there in Roe v. Wade. And those were, of course, overturned in that Dobbs decision. So again, this is going to be kind of front and center for Americans going forward. And the latest Gallup polling back in May, I think, had only 12% of the country was firmly anti-abortion in every case out there. So this is potentially a losing issue for Republicans going forward, again, with 71 days to go.
And Jason, both campaigns are heavily focused on battleground states, with the co-chair Harris Walz's campaign saying he's optimistic about Harris winning Georgia in November. The latest Real Clear Politics average has Trump winning the state by just 1%. Now, this could go either way here, really.
And this is kind of where things were at even when Joe Biden was still the Democratic presumptive nominee, of course, within that margin of error in all these battleground states. But what has changed, at least according to the most recent polling that's out there, is that Harris has kind of surged in the polls. And while they're still within the margin of error, Harris is kind of edging Trump in some of these battleground states now. And there's a little momentum on her side there. And the Trump-Vance ticket will work to kind of derail that over the next few days. Fascinating to get some new poll numbers onto the field. I know that Trump has got stops in Michigan and here in Wisconsin later this week, out in western Wisconsin, as Harris and Walz are focused on Georgia right now. We should get some new polls in over the next couple of days out there in the wake of the Democratic National Convention, kind of give us a clearer picture of where things stand as the rest of the week plays out.
Our Jason Fechner, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Have a great morning.
Despite inflationary pressures cooling, many are still feeling the pain over grocery bills. We'll look at the ways some shoppers are getting creative to keep costs down. That's just ahead. Stay with us.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with a Spectrum subscription.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't switch to Spectrum Enterprise.
Well, you said our services meet some of your technology needs.
But not all.
Well, maybe you have too many.
Demand better. And when they call you unreasonable, call us.
Look, I'm switching to Spectrum Enterprise because they'll be a true partner, and I can't run this network without one.
I think you can.
Our clients do it all the time.
Demand better. And when they call you unreasonable, call us.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/act now.
You're not going to get it all right. Make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter. We are tracking a threat for some strong to severe thunderstorms to develop across the northern plains later this afternoon and evening, even into parts of the overnight hours from South Dakota, Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin under that enhanced risk for severe weather. Damaging winds as high as 65, even 70 miles per hour. Large hail upwards of around golf size, and even a tornado threat exists across this area in Brown later tonight. Across the Northeast, we keep a low-level threat for some severe thunderstorms from southern Maine all the way up into the Washington, D.C. region, and a level 2 risk across the Boston area today, with damaging winds and localized flooding being the primary threats. As we head into Tuesday afternoon, we do the same thing across the Great Lakes through Wisconsin and Michigan, even into parts of the Ohio Valley, getting in on the action. Damaging winds and even some hail, again, going to be the main concerns for us heading into Tuesday afternoon. And with severe weather on the cars the next couple of days, you definitely want multiple ways of receiving severe weather alerts. The Spectrum News app is a great tool to have. You get 24/7 weather coverage, in-depth look at the severe weather outlook, live radar, and you can customize those weather alerts for your location or a family member's location in case severe weather strikes in their area. You can notify them as well. Great tool to have, and you definitely want to have that handy later tonight if you live across the Midwest. As we get towards the 4 o'clock hour, seeing some isolated thunderstorms firing up, stretching into the northern plains, even into the Northeast as well, where we could see that impact your evening commute across the Northeast later today. But that severe weather threat starts to shut down as we get towards 6, 7 o'clock later in the evening. However, up north through Wisconsin, this is where we're going to see some strong thunderstorms pushing through, damaging winds, especially when model guidance is hinting at a bow echo potentially developing, which means very strong winds north of 70 miles per hour. And that tornado threat will be existing as well. Transitioning into lunchtime on Tuesday afternoon, seeing some more of those showers and thunderstorms rolling into Michigan as well. So definitely stay weather aware over the next 24, 48 hours. And on top of the severe weather risk, we're dealing with some more heat. This time it's shifting from southern Texas up into the northern plains. In orange, we've got some heat advisories stretching into Kansas and portions of Missouri. In pink, we've got excessive heat warnings in place. And in dark red, we've got heat watches in place for a place like Chicago later today, as temperatures are going to be well above the average later today. In the upper 90s and the triple digits after our nice taste of fall this week. We're back to that late August heat and humidity. Temperatures are going to be running anywhere between 10 to 15 plus degrees above the average.
Just know that every time I look at that number, I'm going to see you.
Women's soccer star Megan Rapinoe was honored yesterday by her former NWSL club, Seattle Reign FC. Her famed number 15 jersey retired during a ceremony before a game against the North Carolina Courage. Rapinoe spent her entire club career with the Reign in Seattle, joining in the league's first season back in 2013 and going on to score 51 goals in 115 games. Her number is the first to be retired by the club. Even the city's iconic Space Needle was up in lavender for the occasion, a nod to her distinct hair color at the 2019 World Cup. Even though grocery prices are not rising as much as they did over the past 2 years, many people are still frustrated by what it costs to buy food. Spectrum's Megan Marshall takes a closer look at how the problem goes beyond just inflation.
On their weekly shopping trip, the Ardens stay focused on what they really need so they don't waste money or food.
Raw almonds. How much do you want raw almonds?
Filling up their carts like they always do. They take note of price increases and items getting low on store shelves.
The bulk stuff will be out of stock. It'll be a lot more expensive.
Outpost Natural Foods is a Milwaukee-based grocery co-op known for sustainability and sourcing organic products. Leaders of the co-op research how Mother Nature is affecting what they do beyond inflation.
A lot of the impact we're seeing is going to be on some of these products that are typically grown in equatorial regions of the world where you have subtropical climates and you have sort of semi-mountainous regions.
That includes coffee, cocoa to make chocolate, sugarcane, and olives.
Olive groves are being impacted quite a bit right now with the high temperatures that are affecting the Mediterranean region. So there's going to be some fluctuation, there's going to be some change, and you may start seeing some price increases on some of your favorite, even budget-friendly olive oils.
She says last year's yield of olives for making olive oil was down 26%, and this year it's expected to be down an additional 39%. That's why she often suggests shoppers start trying other healthy alternatives like avocado or coconut oil.
It's sort of a double whammy, if you will, that you have prices that are already impacted, higher prices impacted inflation, and that's going to be adjusted accordingly when you have yields and product out of stocks or decrease in certain products. Prices are going to be higher on that as well too.
So whether you try to get all the stuff you're used to or want to try something new, Outpost says it's a good idea to compare and research alternatives to the items increasing in price.
That's going to get everybody, I don't care how much money you get.
Learning to shop different at home as farmers across the world adjust to growing challenges. In Milwaukee, Megan Marshall, Spectrum News.
I am feeding 2 boys, so I understand the pinch at the grocery stores. Of course, you can stay connected with us right here on Spectrum News, getting your national and local headlines on the go. Just download the Spectrum News app. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. I'm Jenna Enoch. Thanks for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our in the field and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back.
To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
To gain inspiration from those who came before us.
To show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love has no labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all communities and heritages.
Because when love has no labels,
that's a love we can all fight for.
Women are bad with money. That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now, we've got something to say.
Save it. It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of guilt.
Then, the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at WeSaySaveIt.org.